So yeah, the first question says, why do we have to wait for the good things to happen in our lives? And why does it have to be hard? So this is what happened to us when we wait. We don't just wait for answers. We wait to become. So there's a passage from scripture. I'm not trying to sound spooky now or sound religious, but it's just reality as I found it to be, as God has helped me understand it. So there's a passage from scripture that says, an heir, as long as is a child, differs not from a servant, even though is Lord of all. What that means is that no matter how much of a possession, an heir to the throne, the crown prince of a kingdom, no matter how much possession he has, there are many things he will not be able to do as the heir because he's not matured, because he has not yet manifested royalty on the ground of responsibility. That scripture further went on to say, but is subject to tutors, instructors, until the appointed time. What the scripture means by the appointed time is maturity until maturity. That heir, that's a child, can ask all his life and say, why am I not allowed to take over or take charge of my father's estate? Just one answer for him. You have not come of age. You are not yet matured for responsibility, right? And this is the case for a lot of us. The fact that the heir is not ready for responsibility doesn't mean he will not desire the reward of responsibility. Remember when we were younger, when you're in school or you sat outside with friends and you're asking each other what you want to become, what you want to have, and then you start to state aspirations that are out of the possibilities of the environment. Oh, I'll buy G-Wagon for my driver. That's the car that my driver will be driving. So the fact that you are not able to be responsible yet doesn't mean you will not be able to desire the reward of a responsible person. Back to the question now, why do we have to wait for good things to happen to us? My number one answer for you is that we wait to become. If we don't wait, there will not be the calling to pay attention to who we are, what we are capable of, why we are here, what we are here for. We will not have that breathing space to ask those questions and really figure out ourselves before we go ahead to figure out life. Let me paint a scenario for you. For example, if you hold the key to a door, and then you thrust that key into the door the wrong way, it's never going to open the door, even though it is the key for the door. Why? Because you don't understand the capacity or the capability of the keys and how it is supposed to be used to accomplish the purpose of opening the door. So that happens to us too. Season of waiting is that season where you get to know you get to explore your potentials. For example, now I know you to do many things. You currently do a lot of things. Only you voiceover, you have discovered that, oh, God has given you a voice that is of such a quality, can have global demand. It is in your period of waiting. It is in your season of waiting that you are discovering all of these things. That's number one. The same is a photographer. If you never held a phone and then tried to turn the camera and then, you got attracted to it and all that, you will never figure out that, oh, you could get creative with good cameras, right? That when camera touches your hand, you capture shots and angles that, are inspirational. You're never going to get to figure that out. Imagine immediately you were born or growing up, you just had access to everything. You may not be able to explore, right? And the game is different from where you came from. You didn't come from a lot of advantages. I didn't come from a lot of advantages. So there is so much to learn, right? There's so much to learn, there's so much to become, to create a leveled ground of advantage to play on, right? So that's why many of those potentials have to be discovered. The same you is a model. If you never, give it a try, if you never entered into spaces or saw people who do modeling, and then you look at yourself and say, I think I am capable of doing this thing. I have the body structure, I have the body, God has given me the body, and I'm able to model. You will not be modeling today. Am I making sense to you? The reason why we have to wait for good things to happen in our lives is because we need to become the kind of people that can manage the good things. We wait so that we can become. Why are we becoming? It is in the becoming that we sustain the capacity to manage the good things. It is in the becoming that we sustain the capacity to multiply the good things. If not, the good things can destroy us. There are two things that God protects us from. God protects us from evil. Then God protects us from the good things that we are not ready for. Why? Because they have the potential and the capacity to destroy us if care is not taken. When you give a man who lacks capacity, responsibility, he will make a mess of the responsibility. When you give a man who has no capacity to manage responsibility resources, it will make a mess of the resources and the responsibility. Typical story from the Bible, the parable of the talent. The master came and gave them according to their capacity. The one that could manage 5 was given 5. The one that could manage 2 was given 2. The one that could manage 1 was given 1. But guess what? The last one, no capacity, next to nothing capacity, went to bury it, and then see the anger of the master when he came back. This guy was literally casted out into outer darkness, where there was gnashing of teeth. In waiting is where you become, and becoming is how you grow into capacity, right? Grow into responsibility to be able to manage the good things that comes your way. And management is God's primary purpose for man. How did I know? Genesis 1:26, you'll find it there. Let us make man in our own image, according to our own likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over everything that creeps on the earth. So can you see? So God literally needed a manager for project earth creation, and then he brought man on the scene who can manage earth like he manages heaven. That was why man came on the scene. So, and to be able to manage, you need capacity, and that's why man from the beginning was equipped with the abilities of God, so that he can function like God on the earth. He was made in God's image, was made in God's likeness. God's image means he looks like God. Man looks like God. God's likeness means man behaves like God, right? So that's capacity. Man was equipped with the potential that can now be refined or translated into capacity through use, through practice, through engagement over time. Then why does it have to be hard? God's way for man was work. If there was no sin on earth, man will still work. The goal of work is not for the work to be hard. The goal of work is results. The reason why it's hard is because there are knowledge gaps, there are wisdom gaps, there are experience gaps that needs to be bridged. Now, I'll bring up a scripture again. If you remember that scripture that says, the labor of fools wearies every one of them, because they don't know the way to the city. Now, what makes a fool is not laziness. What makes a fool is absence of wisdom. Absence of wisdom means absence of direction, absence of practical productivity strategy to get the work done that will guarantee the desired result. That's what makes a fool. A fool does not have that. In fact, a fool can work hard and will still not get results.